Hi there, it's Mr. Smith, and in this video I'll be going over our syllabus. So this is Contemporary Math, Math 1332. Notice this is section 63640. Now this summer I'm teaching two sections of this course online. The other one is 73640, and in either case the syllabi are exactly the same. So let's get started. So as you can see, my name is Scott Smith. Notice there's one T in my name, um, and so that's why I have a nickname, 1T. You're welcome to call me 1T. Most people call me Mr. Smith. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine. You can see my email address here is scottsmith@dallascollege.edu. If you want to have a conversation, you can reach me at 972-677-8940. I won't read everything here, but you should look over the syllabus, and I'll go over what I think are the key things. So you can see my office hours will be done virtually. That means online using Teams. Basically, I'll make a link available to you guys the day of each tutoring session, and so I'll be available Thursdays 7 to 8 p.m. and Saturdays 10 to 11 a.m. Now these aren't the only times that I'm available, but these are the times that you know that I will be available. If they don't work for you and you want to set up a session, we just contact me and we can do that. Let's see, I think that's about all I need to say here. Other than I am more available Monday through Friday, but I will be available on the weekend as well. Just depends on what's going on. Let's go ahead and continue on. So you can see we have a drop date of July 2nd. If for some reason you have to drop, certification date is June 12th. Basically, that's when I certify that you're attending, or in this case, participating in the course. I'll talk about this certification date a little more down below. There's our course description. You're welcome to look that over. And state-defined learning outcomes for this course. You should just kind of look through those. And then we have the Texas core objectives. So these are things that we want all our students at Dallas College to get better at, things we want to work on. So if you haven't looked at that before, you might want to look at that. These are things that are great things to build skills in, like communication, etc., especially when you get into the real world and you get a real job. So this is our course materials. Thinking Mathematically is the name of the book. It's the 8th edition. Now notice what it says here. This course requires students to have access to MyLab Math, which includes an online version of our textbook. MyLab Math is provided as part of the Include Ed program. Basically, all students at Dallas College have their basic materials covered as part of tuition. So in our case, that's what we call the Include Ed program. Sometimes students, in the name of trying to save money, will opt out. And I'll just tell you that the price we have is pretty amazing, and so it's not going to be worth opting out, and it'll be more trouble than it would be worth, and you won't save any money. So I just want to strongly discourage you. So you don't have to do anything. You're already signed up and you already have the materials. Let's see. So MyLab Math is an online textbook-based software in which you're going to complete your assignments. Students must have access to a computer with internet access to complete the required work for this course. Hopefully you have good Wi-Fi at home. If not, we can see about getting you some assistance with that. To begin working in my math lab, all you have to do is go to the home page in eCampus, click on MyLab Math, and then the assignment link, and you can get to work. Now, I will be posting a video in which I go over, or basically have a video tour of MyLab Math, and we've actually changed some things this semester, so I encourage everybody to watch that video. This is the calculator that I recommend for this course. This is not included and not already paid for. This is something that you would have to get on your own. I've seen prices ranging from about $15 to $20. It's called the TI-30XS Multiview Calculator. Um, it's not that you have to have this calculator, but it's a very good calculator. When we are in the financial math section, you'll find we're doing fractions within fractions, and this calculator is very good for being able to enter these complex formulas into your calculator without, it's quite easy, I'll put it that way. You could also use like a TI-84, or maybe have another nice calculator that can do the same kind of thing. You can watch the video where I go over the basics of using this calculator and see if your calculator does the same kind of stuff. But it's going to be especially important when we take our second test that you have a good calculator that you can use. And it will be something you can use on all the tests. Let's look at the graded work. So notice the homework's 15% of your grade. So homework is going to be assigned in MyLab Math to practice the material that you learn in each section of the textbook. A nice thing about my math lab is that you get immediate feedback. You know if you've done the problem right or wrong. If you get a wrong answer, normally you have access to a solution. On the other hand, I do recommend that you work or do all your work in like some kind of a notebook. And the nice thing about that is when you get to quizzes or the tests, you can go back and kind of go through your notes on the homework and the quizzes and just make sure you're prepared for the different kinds of things you're going to see, and then take your test or take your quiz. Not to mention, one of the ways we learn is by writing things out. In some cases, it helps to say things out loud. But anyway, that would be my recommendation. In terms of quizzes, the quizzes assess your ability to recognize and complete problems from multiple sections and are a good indication of whether or not you're learning the material. When you do the homework, you'll have access to all sorts of help buttons. Those will not be available when you take the quizzes. So basically, it's like preparing for the test. Can you do the problems without looking at any notes or anything? Now you will have 2 times that you can take the quizzes, and I'll take your highest score. Notice you do have 60 minutes to take the quiz. I believe I don't know if it's all of them, but certainly most of them are 60 minutes. It'll tell you when you first take the quiz. You do get 2 shots. If you ever want another shot or 2, just send me an email and I'll normally do that. But especially this summer session, it goes really quick and you don't want to spend too many times taking a quiz just because of time. So your tests are 75% of the course. Notice quizzes were 10% and homework was 15%. When you take your tests, you'll be using what's called the Lockdown Browser and Respondus Monitor that's included in MyLab Math. And basically, all this is doing is it's holding you accountable for doing your own work. Basically, we'll have a camera on you while you're taking your test. Notice there's no retakes, but I do want to stress this right here. So for students who average 80% or better on the homework, and if you're happy with your grade after test 4, I will allow you to opt out of test 5. That basically is what we do the last week of the class. So I would encourage you to do really well on the first 4 tests as much as possible, and that might be an option that you would want to use. As far as grades are concerned, we use the normal scale. Notice 90 to 100 is an A, and so on. Next thing here we have our schedule, which is very important. That's why you'll notice I've already made a copy of the schedule available to you in my first announcement, but it's also all here. So you'll notice week 1 is broken into 2 parts. Sections 1, 1 through 1, 3, and quiz 1. These are the things that you need to do, notice by June 11th, with an average of 70% in order to be certified as attending or participating in the course. And so that, you can see it's really important that you get off to a great start. You know, if you really put the work in, I mean, some of you may be able to do it in a day, but I need you to get it done by June 11th in order to be certified as attending this course. By the way, if you're not certified as attending the course, that is very likely to affect your financial aid. So you want to make sure that you are getting the certification done, getting these assignments done. Notice the other part of week 1 is chapter 5, and notice the first test is on chapter 1 and chapter 5. Notice that's done or due on Sunday the 15th, June 15th. In fact, your due dates are each Sunday. The only exception to that, you can see exactly what you need to do each week. It's a lot. Basically, we're moving 3 times the speed of a normal course, like a 16-week course. So that means you're doing a little bit more than 3 weeks of work each week. So hopefully you're not taking too many classes this summer. It's a lot of work. I do want you to see the 5th week. Notice everything's due on Thursday. That's the last day of the semester. So it's really important. Like I said, if you can get everything done after test 4, then you don't have to worry about that. But it's a lot of work to get done in that week. So if you do take test 5, you definitely want to try to get a head start on it. Normally, I recommend, and I will be recommending, that students that do take test 5 start that work in week 4. If anything changes as far as the things that I'm discussing here, the policies and everything, I'll send out an email and make an announcement. We talked about the fact that you need to be certified and what needs to be done. That was those first 3 homework assignments and the first quiz by June 11th. We talked about maintaining an average on the homework of at least 80%. And then late work, notice homework and quizzes should be completed by the due dates on the course schedule. You know, a lot of times students will ask me, they'll say, Mr. Smith, I gotta pass this course. What do I need to do? And I'd say one of the most important things is do your homework and your quizzes and your test, everything on time. And especially in the summer, you got to really stay on top of things. It's not simple because we move quickly. But if you want to be successful, that's the best thing I can tell you to do. There's other things we can talk about as well, but that's where things start. Notice if anything's late, you have a 25% deduction. That's just with homework and quizzes. The last day to complete late assignments is July 5th. I think that's the Saturday before our last week. And normally I will allow students to take a test late. But if for some reason you missed the deadline, you should contact me right away. Hopefully you have a good excuse. I'm a reasonable person, but what I want to make sure is that you're a serious student and you're doing everything you can to complete all assignments on time, unless there's some kind of an emergency, and in that case, you should let me know. There's some support contacts here that you'll see on any of your syllabi, how you can reach out to your success coach or access free tutoring, contact technical support, so you'll want to look through those if you haven't already. Also, if you've never looked through our Dallas College policies, the institutional policies, things about dropping classes, Title IX. Anyway, you should look those over at least once. All right, well, that's everything I have to say about the syllabus. If you have any questions, be sure to contact me. Have a great day.